Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Boy, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will, Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
And he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome. This is Freaky Friday on the Arrowhead Addict channel. I'm Adam Best, joined by Sterling Holmes. And this week, producer Sean, producer Richard is enjoying a well-earned vacation. Sterling, want to talk to you about Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Just you know the league so well. Want to pick your brain on it, and I have an interesting place to take this. But just first of all, your overarching thoughts.
Yeah, I honestly think that it's being overreacted because it's Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. I think that the PR aspect and Jerry Jones almost calling out Micah Parsons, calling him Michael multiple times, obviously seems on purpose what he is doing. Talking about how they'll now be better in the run game and they're a better team right now because they don't have Micah Parsons is quite frankly disrespectful. And if you are on the Cowboys, if you're a free agent, why would you ever want to go to Dallas unless they clearly offer you the most money by far? When you look at the breakdown of it, it's very reminiscent of the Tyreek Hill trade, right? Where it might seem silly on the forefront, but when it comes down to it, it might be best for the team's long-term success. 47-ish mil per year AAV for Micah Parsons. You know, with the contract in that final year, maybe a little closer to 40-ish, 43 mil per year AAV. Most ever for a non-quarterback. It's just absurd. I think people are just thinking of this as the NBA, and they're thinking of it as Luka Doncic because obviously the Dallas connection and all that. But in the NBA, you can have supermax guys. The way the contract and construction works there, a lot easier to keep that. You're already paying a quarterback in Dak Prescott. You're already paying a wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. There's a lot of other guys and mouths to feed in the NFL, especially on the Cowboys. Yeah, 47 mil a year is a lot. And when you can get back 2 first-round draft picks, the Kenny Clark aspect of this is weird on both sides for the Cowboys, you know, unless you think you're going to win right now, I guess. But wouldn't you have rather had a third-rounder maybe? And if you're the Packers, wouldn't you have rather kept Kenny Clark if you're trying to compete right now? I thought the Kenny Clark aspect was interesting. But overall, I think it's actually a decent move for Dallas long-term, right? Because that defense it needs way more than just Micah Parsons. And you get 2 first-rounders in that 26th to 30th range because Packers will be solid, and I assume they make the playoffs and all that. But overall, I think it's easy to dunk on Jerry Jones. He himself should be dunked on, but the move itself is not that bad. I'll also point out, you have to get it right. If the Chiefs would have drafted Kyer Elam instead of Trent McDuffie with the Tyreek Hill pick, well, then we're clowning Veach, right? But no, he drafted Karlaftis and McDuffie, and he got a lot of this right. When you get it right, no one cares. No one cares. But can the Cowboys get it right with those 2 first-rounders? If they do, no one will worry, and they'll probably even laud Jerry Jones for making the hard decision.
Whew, I have so many thoughts here. First off, Jerry Jones trying to treat David Muliata, the most powerful agent in sports, like he's the Katz brothers. That was the ultimate F around and find out moment. Trying to circumvent, trying to like go around an agent and act like it's normal to say, no, I just deal with the players directly and take advantage of them. And I mean, just idiocracy. I think when Richard comes back, we might have an impromptu segment called Adam's Salary Cap Corner, because this is the kind of thing that makes my head explode. I know the sticker shock on $47 million is like triggering people, but I'm here to tell you, it is not as outlandish as it seems. Now maybe it is obscene when you look at why is a guy that can rush the passer making this much when so-and-so, a nurse at the hospital tonight is barely making ends meet. That's not this kind of discussion. It's not even the kind of discussion that like Roger Goodell is making $60 million a year. The owners are making more. Like maybe Micah Parsons does deserve this. I think the discussion is understanding the salary cap. The pie is growing rapidly, and so are the slices. But the slices aren't, they're growing proportionally with the pie. Like, I know this seems like edge rushers are getting paid more than they used to. They're basically the same percentage of the cap. Do you understand what I'm saying? It just seems like the
I think you muted yourself. Someone muted me potentially. Sean, did you mute me? Can you hear me? Because the whole thing looks muted on my end.
Okay, am I back?
It was you. Sean said it was you. Adam,
why
would I lie to you? Why would I
never
lie to you, Best?
You never do. This is our fourth season together. Which
Even
I'm
the salary cap talk, they said that just out in the ether, it said we don't want to hear any more of this. It said Sterling's right. Even just randomness said that you're wrong.
Where did I leave off?
I left off by saying, Sterling, you're right. Adam Best, 47 mil for Micah Parsons on a defense that buns is a bad move.
Come on. I don't want to repeat myself. Where did I leave off?
I mean, that's basically where it was.
So you didn't hear anything I said?
We heard pie. Pieces of the pie have grown exponentially.
No, the pieces of the pie have not grown exponentially. They have grown proportionally to the size of the pie. Edge rushers are still making the same percentage of the cap, premium edge rushers, as they used to. Jamar Chase isn't getting paid any more percentage-wise than Julio Jones was. It's just the influx of tech money and gambling money have made the cap explode by $30 million a year. So now suddenly it feels like edges are making quarterback money because they are making what quarterbacks made 5 years ago. But this is the new normal. In 2 years, this is not going to look like a bad deal. And to me, I'm looking at Micah Parsons and I see arguably the most valuable trade chip who's not a quarterback, who's 26 or under. He's certainly there with Tristan Wirfs and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and those guys. You just never, ever, ever trade that guy. This isn't Tyreek Hill, who had more off the field stuff, who had a shorter shelf life as a wide receiver. And also, there's no Patrick Mahomes of that defense to elevate the rest of the talent to make up for Micah Parsons leaving. That's why Patrick Mahomes can lose Tyreek Hill, go into a season with MVS, who got cut, McCole Hardman, who got cut, Justin Watson, sixth-string receiver for the Houston Texans, Sky Moore hanging on by a thread, Kadarius Toney flipping burgers somewhere. Juju Smith-Schuster is a number 4 receiver in Kansas City because of good vibes and good blocking, right? Like, he won a Super Bowl on one ankle with those guys, on one leg. This is not the same. Jerry Jones, the problem with Jerry Jones is, and maybe this is part of why Clark Hunt doesn't want to do different jerseys. So you know that 31 teams have to pool the money for merchandising, and the Dallas Cowboys have a carve out on that where they keep all their own stuff. This is why Jerry Jones cares most about his brand and money and merchandising and the value of the franchise and not winning. In Kansas City, we care about winning. So Clark Hunt isn't perfect, but that's the other thing I would say is I don't think this is the same as Tyreek Hill. I don't think Clark Hunt and Brett Veach would do something like this, and Andy Reid. I don't think they would make a mistake this big. And I think, the Packers are right there for Super Bowl front runners. I'm glad we don't see them, but this does make the game on Thanksgiving. I guess that would be my last thought. This makes that game against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving much easier.
Yeah.
Josh Simmons, right? I'm not nearly as worried about Josh Simmons playing the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah. A couple comments. At least they have the Yankees, and is it Georgia football they've moved on to now from Alabama football, or maybe it's Ohio State now. So at least Cowboys fans have that to look forward to. A couple comments I want to get to. Anonymous Mango, Sterling can't lie. I'm incredibly sad you don't have the drum skins on the show anymore, especially the side ones. No, it's not Chad Smith. I wish. That's my favorite band. I wish I had a Chad Smith signed drum head. I have a lot. I have Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater. A whole lot more. Some Steel Panther, Aerosmith, Joey Kramer from Aerosmith. But they're actually still in the basement. They are just no longer behind me. I moved Holmes in November. So I've had to put up the drum heads elsewhere. Maybe someday I'll do a show where I walk around and I'll show off the basement with the how it's laid out. So we can do that sometime. Not today, but sometime. Anonymous Mango, we can do that. So why is Smith listed fourth in the depth chart according to John Coy, rookie? I'm assuming you're talking about Brashard Smith, rookie. I mean, he's clearly behind Kareem and Pacheco, and I'm sure they just gave the veteran Elijah Mitchell the bump right there. And if you gave me who was going to have more offensive snaps, I'd probably say Mitchell before Brashard Smith. Smith will be more of a special team guy. And then I see a couple comments, Trey and C Beach about Hollywood Brown talking about how, why is he being under-talked about after being touted as the wide receiver one last year? I don't think he's wide receiver one last year. I think that was overblown. I tried pumping the brakes on that pretty hard. It's because he's always injured. You can't count on him. Fair or not, that is the name of the game. I like him on the Chiefs. I like him being wide receiver 3, but that's what he is wide receiver 3. He'll be wide receiver 2 to start the season. But he's a good player. He's a fine player. I think that because he had that 1 year, he went over 1,000 yards. I think it was 1,008, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone just assumed that he was going to keep escalating and becoming the guy. When I think he's more of, at least at this point of his career, a guy who probably plays around 12 to 13 games a year. He's a fine player, a solid player, but he's not going to be the guy that is teams putting their resources to stopping him. That is now Rashee Rice. I still think he's behind Travis Kelce in the pecking order heading into 2025. But again, happy he's here. Happy he's healthy, hopefully, for the start of the season. It will be big for him the first 6 weeks without Rashee.
He's a number 4 option in the passing tree, and that is a luxury if he's healthy. And at the end of the season, you have Rashee as the primary option and Worthy as the number 2 and maybe Travis as the 2B, and then Hollywood making defenses respect his speed as an ancillary option. That's a much better situation than the Chiefs have been in the previous 3 postseasons. There's no question. You know what I think of when I think of Chad Smith is him and Will Ferrell. You ever seen those skits where Will's drumming against him, and you need a Will Ferrell autographed on a something to do with drums from Step Brothers, right?
There we go.
All right, we're gonna do 2025 Chiefs season predictions today. We're gonna do it yearbook style. Back in high school, we all had yearbooks, and we did predictions and awards, stuff like most likely to succeed or class clowns. And I just thought this would be a little bit more universal than picking some random pop culture thing to orient this around. And it's Friday, we're 2 weeks in between games. I just wanted to have some fun. So let's mix it up. Let's get creative with how we forecast the season. There's about 20 of these. We haven't made up our mind on any of them. We're going to rip through them fast and just have some fun. The first one is most likely
Whoa. Before that, there's something I want to talk about, and that's Underdog, baby. Slow your roll. Okay, you're over here talking stuff. I want to talk stuff, and I want to talk Underdog because I've already been rocking Underdog. Football is back. Yeah, college football even. And Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Super easy to play on Underdog. All you have to do is pick your favorite players and whether they go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and a lot more. So I was rocking this. I guess this was yesterday. I was just messing around on there, going higher and lower with a few. Few stats right there. I was doing the Nebraska game with Dylan Raiola. I got very close, that under 143, nailed it because it was higher lower. Picked the lower. Higher lower was 247 and a half, something along those lines for his stat line, and nailed that one. And I did Bo Prabula for the Missouri Tigers quarterback. It was I think 107 and a half. I had higher for his pass yards in the first half, so nailed it. Super easy. And you can do it just like that right there on Underdog. So if you download the app today and sign up with the promo code Arrowhead Addict, you can score $50 in bonus funds when you play with your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado, 47 games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Consider with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ntbgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Bam. I was doing Underdog yesterday too. I was doing the puppy, which is their smallest, maybe not their smallest. I think they have the Chihuahua too, but all of their best ball contests are named after dogs. I think they have the Great Dane and all these different things. And it used to be 30 seconds a pick. Now it's 20 seconds a pick. And I think you can get through them much quicker. A lot of fun. $5 gives you, more skin in the game. You can keep doing it and build a portfolio. I think my highest rostered players are Bryce Young and Josh Downs. So if you have conviction on guys that are, underlooked in fantasy football, but you don't have the time to have 6 or 7 leagues, best ball is a great option, right? So that's something else they do at Underdog. I love Underdog. We've been using it for a long time. All right. Forecasting the season, yearbook style. Our first category is most likely to put up 1,000 yards, non-quarterback, of course, just among skill players.
So Rashee Rice would have been the answer. I'm going Xavier Worthy now. Xavier Worthy is the guy I'll roll with. Although I think that Travis Kelce has a good chance to get back to that number. But I think if I had to go and place a bet right now, I would go Xavier Worthy.
Okay. I still think Rashee Rice might hit 1,000 yards. It's going to be tight. So this really becomes a conversation about what can Xavier Worthy do during those first 6 weeks when Rashee Rice is gone? Because if he can get off to a hot start, he can do it. He can do it for sure. But the Chiefs like to spread the ball around, and I do think Rashee Rice is going to be the primary target when he comes back. But not everyone agrees with this, Sterling. You look around the fantasy community and even Chiefs Kingdom, I think there are some people that think that Worthy, with this opportunity given by the suspension, might become the Chiefs' go-to guy. I'm not seeing that though.
I see the first 6 weeks.
Agree, and I think he's going to be a spectacular Robin to Rashee Rice's Batman, but I just don't see him being a volume receiver with his build and his route tree. I just don't think he's a guy that can get 12 targets a game, and Rashee Rice can. We've seen that. Small sample size, but 2 playoffs ago and the first 3 games of last season, we saw that. So I agree with you. If Rashee Rice is playing all 17, that would be the easy answer, but it is Xavier Worthy. The second one, most likely to put up 15 sacks. I'm going to narrow this down. I think there are 2 strong candidates, obviously, Chris Jones, George Karlaftis. I mean, maybe you can make a dark horse case for Charles Omenihu or Mike Dana, but it probably comes down to those 2 guys. Which do you think is more likely?
Yeah, I'd say neither, but probably Karlaftis at this point. I think Karlaftis at this point, if I said you get one or the other, who has the most sacks, maybe, at season's end, I would say Karlaftis. I really am buying into the tail end of what he did last year. I'm buying into him seeing more one-on-ones. And I have some questions with the defensive tackle room outside of Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones is going to see even more double teams than normal. I think Chris Jones is just going to see a plethora of double teams, which hopefully alleviates some outside one-on-ones. And I think Karlaftis takes a advantage of said one-on-ones.
I'm going to go with you as well. I'm going to go with George Karlaftis. It makes me a bit uneasy to do it because sometimes I think we are, as fans and as a football community, are so focused on sacks that it does a defensive tackle like Chris Jones a disservice. A guy who, speaking of Micah Parsons, he gets double teamed twice as much as Micah Parsons. We saw him against the Bears in a preseason game get triple teamed. Just crazy. And I think, like it afforded Frank Clark, playing alongside Chris Jones afforded you a lot of opportunities. You're not going to get double teamed when number 95 is on the field. The other thing 95 can do, we saw this in the Buffalo Bills playoff matchup last year. He slid out on Deion Dawkins and he said, I'm going to occupy their toughest matchup. I'm going to make the entire defense orient itself to me, and someone else is going to get that game-winning clinching pressure or sack or whatever. So I just think if this was pressures or pass rush win rate or anything like that, it would be no contest Chris Jones. But I'm going to go with George Karlaftis. And if he does get 15 sacks, the Chiefs are going to be very glad they got that deal done early, because that would make Furious George's contract skyrocket. Moving on, most likely first-time All-Pro. I think this one's a little harder to parse out.
I think it's easy. To me,
okay.
I think it's Trey Smith. I think Trey Smith is the obvious one. Obviously, he's been a one-time Pro Bowler. Trent McDuffie already been a multiple-time All-Pro. To me, I think first-time All-Pro, it's going to be Trey Smith because he just signed the massive contract, and offensive line, fair or not, a lot of it is a popularity contest if there is a close race, right? If there's a close race, sometimes the popularity reigns true on the offensive line. I think you'll probably see Creed and Trey Smith as first-team All-Pro. Now, it's going to be tough. You obviously have guys at right guard like Chris Lindstrom, who's absolutely incredible. Hell, if they just do guard in general, right? I don't think it's left and right. I think it's two guards, which means you have guys like Joe Tooney and
Quinn Miners, right?
Quinn Miners. There's a lot of good guards, but I do
Landon Dickerson.
I do think that the new contract for Trey Smith, coupled with the notoriety and the name recognition, plus I think the play is still really, really damn good for Trey. I'll say Trey Smith is a first-team All-Pro.
The team you play for is helpful too. It just is. If you have team success, there's often a correlation between player accolades and team success. Yeah, and this is the first time really you look at like Brandon Thorne and the ESPN League Survey and PFF, and you're seeing Trey Smith top 3 guard, top 5 interior lineman. So his reputation is getting to the point where he can make this list. Who else would we even consider? Would we consider Nick Bolton or one of the receivers maybe? I mean, if Rashee Rice was playing a full season, I think the argument would be Trey Smith versus Rashee Rice, but that's just there's more receiver competition for this spot than I think there are more noteworthy receivers in the NFL than guards. So that would be the other issue there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, receiver, you have to have 1,600 yards to be in the conversation, really.
And he could do that if he was playing 17 games, but he's not. He's playing 11. So most improved.
This is a good one. All right, I'm gonna go with Chiefs player only because I think I was gonna go with Christian Fulton as like most improved but going for the Chargers to KC, I don't want to do that. That seems a little cheap. I'll go
because we know Dave. Okay,
I'll go Kingsley, and I'm not saying most improved to where he's great. I'll go most improved to where he's a solid, fine left guard. He's fine. You're not sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's a debacle. Because that's what it was last year at left tackle. Let's just say I hope he doesn't get benched. that's the case, that's an improvement. That'd be a massive improvement. He plays all 17 games at guard for KC. That's a huge improvement for Kingsley. I'll say Kingsley.
And this is improvement against yourself. Like, we're kind of grading on a curve here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good pick. Christian Fulton, what I was going to say there is, we know Dave Merritt is extremely good at his job, and Steve Spagnuolo is extremely good at his job. So I expect him to be better in Kansas City in this infrastructure. My gut, like, the first person I thought of was Jaden Hicks. So I think I'm just going to trust my gut and go Jaden Hicks. If the Chiefs were willing to move on from Justin Reed and not bring in a veteran safety, a high-paid veteran safety for the first time in the Steve Spagnuolo era, for the first time in a long time, because they had Eric Berry, Honey Badger, Justin Reed, it just shows a ton of trust in this young player, and I think that speaks volumes. So I'm going to go with Jaden Hicks. Most unique. This is the player who you don't see a skill set like him around the league very often and on this roster very often. And a couple candidates just kind of show you where my mind is at with this one. Leo Chanel is one of them. Like, what exactly is Leo Chanel? He's kind of an outside linebacker, but he plays edge sometimes. Rashard Smith, who I think is kind of going to be a lot like guys in past Chiefs years, like Dexter McCluster or DeAnthony Thomas or not McCole Hardman, maybe a little bit like McCole Hardman, but Dante Hall. So those are a couple of the guys that I would think of as unique players.
Patrick's the obvious one because no one is like Patrick, but I'll go with Leo for this one because I think Leo is the most unique. I think he's a special team superstar. He doesn't really have a defined role. He can play on the edge if you need him to. Coverage has been a little bit of an issue at times, although sometimes he grades out really well on PFF, which just feels like a little bit of a disconnect at times. But overall, I'd say Leo's the most unique because pound for pound, probably the strongest guy. He lined up at fullback twice last year. So, yeah, give me Leo as the most unique.
Can play fullback, can play edge. My fear with Leo Chanel is that they're going to let him walk and he's going to go somewhere and become Zach Bond. That is, that's an intrusive thought I have on Leo Chanel. Maybe it's wrong, but I think if he could figure out coverage, and he's a really good athlete. I don't know if he's a really good diagonal athlete, but if he could figure out coverage, I mean, the ceiling, I mean, the sky is the limit there. So I agree with you. Most likely to retire. It's 87, right?
Mike Pennell.
He's not on the roster.
I know. He's more likely to retire right now than Travis Kelce. He might retire before the season ends. Got you with a trick question, baby. Trick answer. Am I wrong?
No, and I was gonna say Derek Nottie just to be a smart ass too. You know, like just throwing someone out there that's not Travis. But with the engagement and everything that's going on with him, I think this is the last dance. So yeah, gonna be a special year in Chiefs Kingdom. Yeah. Least likely to succeed.
Oh man, I don't know.
It's brutal, but it could also be like the surrounding talent around them isn't very good, or like for me, it's Chamari Connor. I could be cheap here and pick CEH or something, but I think Chamari Connor is the one guy I look at when they're putting him in the slot, and I'm thinking, this is just not his best utilization. I hate to argue with the coaching staff, but like when everybody is unanimously looking at this team from the outside in and saying the same thing, and I don't know. I just don't like. I do not think that is the optimal secondary configuration. So that's the guy and the usage that's worrying me.
I'll be cheap and take tight end for Jared Wiley. We haven't seen much improvement. I haven't seen much that necessarily screams, I'm thrilled. You have Kelce, Noah Gray, and Big Bob Tunnion's past him. So I'll say Wiley.
Is he tied in 4? Is he tied in 5? Because Brinkstool made the roster.
Yeah, he's injured. They can do that because they kept him because he's injured. He probably would have been released or waived and put on the practice squad if he would have made it through. So the injury is not worst case scenario for KC. So I think Wiley's 4.
And he wouldn't have made it through, right? I think somebody would have plucked him.
And you never know, man. There's so many randomness that happens, and guys that you think won't will, and guys that will won't. It is a little bit like a roulette wheel.
We get very protective of our guys, thinking, "Oh, we've got this hidden gem that nobody else in the league has." But every fan base feels that way about 4 or 5 guys, right? So, least likely to disappoint. I'm going to nominate 2 guys here. I think the expectations are so high for Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce that you kind of have to exclude them from this category. The first 2 people that come to mind are Trent McDuffie and Creed Humphrey. And because cornerback is such a roller coaster of a position, as we like to say, I think Creed Humphrey is the guy that is the steadiest performer on this football team. You just don't even have to think about him. You know he is the best player in the league at his position, right? And I would argue that now with Frank Ragnow and Jason Kelce out of the league, there's the biggest gap between the number 1 center and the number 2 center than the number 1 and number 2 at any other position in the NFL. So that's why I'm going with Creed Humphrey. Also, center is just kind of something you don't think about unless he's doing like the low snap thing again. What is there to worry about with Creed Humphrey?
Yeah, Creed would probably be the correct answer. I'll go with one here that I find intriguing. Least likely to disappoint. Yeah, I guess Creed is the answer. I'm trying to think. Like, I kind of wanted to go with Isaiah Pacheco to an extent because I am buying a slight bounce back, but it just feels like I'm trying to have some nuances. Either people like really dislike him or people are just too enamored by him to have a rational conversation with. Like, I think he's fine. Like RB20. That's probably where he's at in the NFL, like RB20. I think he's that. So he might be a guy that to some, but I think Creed Humphrey's the correct answer overall.
Maybe we'll find a place to talk about Isaiah Pacheco because I agree with you that people can't be rational about him. This happens with Chiefs players sometimes. I think Nick Bolton is another guy that people can't just be normal about. He's either the worst player in the league or the second coming of Ray Lewis. So, I mean, reality is just he's like a top 12 linebacker or so, and whose intangibles probably make him more valuable to the Chiefs than any other team. But I think the expectations for Isaiah Pacheco are so low that he's probably not going to disappoint because he wasn't right last year. I just don't think there's any way he's not a little bit better than he was when he was playing hurt. Rookie of the year, there's one obvious candidate, Josh Simmons, but do you have any... Yeah, baby. Let's go. Team Cooper.
No, I do like Cooper McDonald. It's Josh Simmons. I mean, there's not really an answer of anyone else. Jalen Royals won't get the PT. Ashton Gelati, I don't think gets the playing time. Rashard Smith doesn't get the playing time. Jeffrey Bassa doesn't get the playing time. I think the answer to me is Omar Nummerlot might, but still, I don't think we'll get quite the playing time. I think it's Josh Simmons. I mean, if he's even okay, that right there is rookie of the year. Rashard Smith, if he's a special teams ace.
I'm with you. I don't think Noel Williams is going to play enough. I am very high on Ashton Gelati. I really am super high on him. And I think in a normal year, I might argue for him. But Josh Simmons is just like a mistake the league made to give the Chiefs an accidental top 10 pick. He should not be on this roster. And I totally agree with you. Their tackle play has been so shaky that if he is just a top 15 tackle and Kingsley Suamataia is not like a bottom 5 left guard, they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Biggest new wrinkle, something that was missing from the Chiefs or something that we haven't seen before that becomes a big part of their process and story this year.
Deep ball being back.
There you go.
I'm all like Tyquan Thornton or just in general. I don't know if you're going to see the first 6 weeks, full transparency. I think you're going to see a little bit of a slog the first 6 to an extent. I think week 7, when Rasheed's back, it's going to look electric. I think we're looking more 2022 Chiefs than 23 and 24. Like I think 22 is the year I'm looking at of, okay, yeah, this team's back, even with too high shell, because it's going to be difficult because then you'll have a lot of guys running free with Hollywood and Travis underneath single coverage, and even Rasheed with I'm thrilled about the offense looking really good this year. So I'll say deep ball being back.
It feels so 2022 to me. And I think obviously this fleet of skill players is much better. But the way the league, people are kind of like writing the Chiefs off a little bit. Not completely, but we're back into this. We've reached the peak of the dynasty. The Chiefs are on the descent. Mahomes might not be the best quarterback in the league anymore, all this stuff. And I just think Pat in particular is going to come out guns a-blazing. This is a huge opportunity these first 6 weeks for Tyquan Thornton, by the way, because Xavier Worthy is going to have to do some of the underneath and intermediate stuff. Not exactly the same way, but he's going to have to fill in a little bit for Rashee Rice as the engine of this offense. So I would love to see Tyquan Thornton show more of that good instant chemistry he had with Patrick Mahomes. But I agree with you. Once Rashee Rice comes back, he is the rare player who can take a 5-yard slant and turn it into an explosive play. You can't just sit back with your safeties and be lackadaisical with number 4 on the field. It is the deep ball coming back. Biggest trade candidate, and the caveat here is it can be either on the roster being exported or off the roster being imported.
Honestly, it'll be like McCole Hardman. Like if an injury happens, you better believe McColl's getting called. We don't want to say it. We don't always want to believe it, but I feel like that's the correct answer.
Man, we are some getting the band back together dudes, aren't we? You know, Derek.
No, it's what the Chiefs do. It's not what we do. It's what the Chiefs do.
No, I'm saying the Chiefs, like Derek Nottie and Juju comes back and CEH and McColl's like a revolving door. But I mean, the teams have their unique culture, their unique playbook. And if there's just one guy who has more value to that system than the rest of the league, I think McCole Hardman is the epitome of that. I'm gonna zag a little bit here where you're zigging, and I'm gonna say a running back. They're not gonna be thrilled with. I think they're gonna be okay with the 50% of the touches that Isaiah Pacheco gives the team. I think Kareem Hunt getting a year older. I think Elijah Mitchell might not have it, and Brashard Smith isn't ready to pass protect. So I think I don't know if it's Rashad White, who I've proposed in the past, Alvin Kamara, who I've proposed in the past, Travis Etienne. I think they're going to be shopping for a running back until the deadline, because that's really, when it comes to the offense, what I'm the most worried about. I mean, maybe guard depth as well, like a better option B to Kingsley Suamataia. But I'm going to say an off-the-roster running back. Next up is biggest surprise. What are you thinking here?
That Jaden Hicks plays less than we all expect.
Ooh, okay.
I don't like it, but that's basically what we've seen in the preseason. He's safety 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's behind Shamari, and he's been behind Brian Cook. I don't know if it lasts all year, but I have been a little surprised by that development. I don't know why. I think Shamari Conner is best left at safety with, let's say, Christian Roland Wallace in the slot. But I don't know. I really like Shamari Conner when he's at safety. I think Jaden Hicks is a different skill set, and maybe I'd prefer Hicks and Shamari Conner at both safety spots instead of Brian Cook. All three are can be more box safeties than free safeties. That's where I thought the releasing, and now he's back in the practice squad of Mike Edwards was intriguing because he was the only one with a different flavor almost in that safety room. But yeah, I think maybe less snaps than we all expect for Jaden Hicks would be the biggest surprise, because that's going to surprise me, because him not being like safety 1 was a surprise, and him looking like safety 3, at least to me so far, that's been the surprise.
I can see it. It'd be unfortunate because I think he has the highest ceiling of that group.
Yep.
And I like Shamari Connor. I just think they've been playing him out of position. But I could see it. The utilization in the preseason pointed to this. It is very possible. I'm going to go with lower snaps than expected for another player. I'm going to go Travis Kelce. I think the Chiefs saw him have dead legs in the Super Bowl and late in the year at times last year. That yak wonder, the yards after the catch marvel we've seen throughout his career. We saw a little bit in preseason week 3. We saw him kind of shimmy that shoulder and dip and pick up some extra yards. I think they're going to want him to have as much juice as possible in the postseason. Robert Tonyan is here. They trust him. He's looking great. I don't know where he discovered the fountain of youth, but and why nobody wanted him the past 3 or 4 years, but you have him. I think Noah Gray can do a little bit more. Patrick Mahomes, trust him. He's one of the guys that Patrick Mahomes trusts the most on the roster. All you have to say is how often he goes to him on third down. He is looking for Noah Gray. So I think they can trust Noah Gray and Big Bob Tonyan a little more. And there's just no reason in his aged 35-year season for Travis Kelce to play 80% of the snaps. I'd like to see that at more like 60% of the snaps. I think the Chiefs are going to dial that down. Rashee Rice might have been what kept them from doing that last year, that injury. And Hollywood Brown, of course, and just not having Pacheco. I think last year they had to use him more than they wanted to out of necessity, but they saw that they need to keep those old legs fresh. Biggest draft bust. I hate to go here, but it's an important thing to discuss. Who you got, Sterling?
Yeah, I hate doing this. I really do. Josh Simmons. Because when he's put in Canton, that bust is going to be huge, boys. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go. Yeah, nice. That was, you have a future in politics, man. You just didn't step in the quicksand there. But I am going to step into it, and I'm going to say Omar Norman Lott. I'm a little worried about the size and what we've seen so far. And this draft class looks so good that if I have to pick somebody, I'm going to pick the guy who has been banged up a little bit and flashed the least. Because I think all the other guys, every single other draft pick we had really flashed in the preseason. I think this is going to be Veach's best class in some time. So when we say biggest draft bust, I don't think there's an FAU or a CEH or a Sky Moore in this class. I think this class is really solid. Biggest rival. So what team? We're kind of in this weird area where ideally your biggest rival would be a fellow AFC West team, or at least another AFC contender. But neither the Ravens nor the Bills have been able to beat the Chiefs when it counts in the playoffs. And the only rival that they keep running into in the playoffs that has done that, the Bengals have kind of been vanquished, so I don't really count them, is the Philadelphia Eagles. They are on the schedule again. They are the team, at least according to Vegas, most likely to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Are they our biggest rival right now, or who do you have as our biggest rival?
I still think Bills. And what's funny is I like Bills fans. I like the Bills team. I really like Josh Allen, one of my favorite players. There's bad dudes and bad people in every single fan base. And I know there are going to be some Chiefs fans who've had bad interaction with Bills fans, and they'll say, oh, how can you not despise them? I've had great interactions with Bills fans. Bengals fans, on the other hand, is different. Bengals fans, it feels like more are bad than good, which seems nearly impossible. Ravens fans, I haven't had a ton of interaction with. I like Bills fans. I think they're a tortured fan base. I really like Josh Allen. I think the biggest rival is the Bills. Bengals, they got to get back to the playoffs before they can even be considered a rival. AFC West, I think the Broncos are the closest to being that, even if the Chargers I still think are better. I just don't think the Chargers, there's not that vitriol between the Chiefs and Chargers. There's the anger almost because Bengals fans are delusional, right? Oh, but I don't, they got to win to start really bringing that rivalry back.
They got to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Come on.
For me, it's the Bills. And again, I think it's the biggest rival because I think that they're the best chance of taking KC down in the playoffs. I don't know. Again, who knows? We never know. They haven't yet. They've had opportunities, but they've been toe-to-toe a lot. They've had some opportunities. There's been great games. I'll go Bills.
Part of me agrees with you. It's the natural evolution of Brady, Manning, Mahomes and Allen. And I like Bills Mafia, man. Before we started winning all these Super Bowls, the two fan bases were kind of kindred spirits. Maybe not equally tortured, but similarly tortured, right? I have to go with the Eagles because I look at the Eagles and the Bills can't say they have no claim to being the best team in the NFL over the past 3 or 4 years. And they're not even close to being able to say that. Neither are the Ravens. The Eagles are. The Eagles are an existential threat to the Chiefs dynasty. They win this year, and they get to say, we're the new kings. This league is ours. And I think the single person who might be the most influential person in the NFL who is not Patrick Mahomes is Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles owner, because of what he allows that franchise to build around Jalen Hurts and their fan base. I think they love being the villain. They do. They love it. They love it. And they don't try to hide it. And you have to respect that. But that is the fan base that irks me the most. That is the team that scares me the most because they're the team that can kind of replace the Chiefs. So I know it's a little unusual to say your biggest rival is in the NFC, but if they keep running into them in the Super Bowl, every other year, you could see it.
Yep.
Worst troll. I'm going to go ahead, and this is probably the first and last time I'm going to mention this guy's name on this program. It is Jason McIntyre, a guy I actually knew back. I knew this guy back in the day when I was an executive at Fansided, the company I founded with my brother that, our parent company, and he was at the big lead. Nice guy. But I think he has seen Elaine as kind of being the anti-Nick Wright and has really just clinged to it as a career move and without any shame, just saying, I think I see people that I respect kind of being Chief skeptics a little bit just to kind of like keep it not getting boring for their audience. But I mean, he just goes all in to a point where it's laughable with the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs are going to be last in the AFC West or whatever. Like, I really don't believe that he believes the stuff he's saying.
We were on the same page, right? When you said that, we right away, you think of one person. It's Jason McIntyre. And this is probably what he wants. We're talking about him. He gets interactions. It's just, to me, it's why sometimes when you do what we do, you feel like icky. Right? Because to me, it puts a bad name for people in media. And because I don't think he believes it. It's different if he believes it. If he fully believed that, then I think he doesn't know ball, but I can at least respect a differing viewpoint. I'll be like, I don't know what you see, man, but all right. I think he does it because he gets clicks. And that to me is the worst type of this medium. I can't stand that. I don't like it because then it just evolves into drivel and you're just left as you're left dumb. And I don't like that. And I just get frustrated with the entire, Jalen Hurts is the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history. He's not even the best one now.
In his division.
Like, he's not the best that's ever played for his team. He's not better than McNabb. He's not better than Vic. He's not better than Randall Cunningham. He's not better than Steve Young. He's not better than Patrick or Josh. He's not better. And he's like, well, 15 throwing touchdowns. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
That's Daniel Jones, man.
It's like, it's just, and I've been a huge Jalen Hurts supporter. So
Yeah.
I hate it because then it makes you have to take a stance against a guy that I have respect for. And that's what it comes down to is I just don't like that sort of, he almost acts like it's a troll account on Twitter. Like one of those nameless faces that he just tries to say stupid stuff to get a rise. Like that's what I feel like he's trying to do. Yet he's putting his face behind it, his name behind it, and it's disheartening to see. And maybe that's where I'm at, is I'm disappointed in the entire thing.
I half expect it to become performance art. Like a year from now, he does the Joaquin Phoenix thing when Joaquin Phoenix was pretending to be a rapper, saying, "Oh, this is just a ruse." Because I mean, it's just the stuff he says is bizarre, and it's not like someone like Chris Sims usually is a contrarian, but I think he is a serious person. He always has good explanations for why he thinks what he thinks. And I think his whole thing is just he doesn't want us to fall into groupthink so much when we're ranking, rookie receivers or whatever. But this guy is a completely different beast, and I think he's kind of embarrassing all of us. Most shocking loss. I'm going to nominate a game during the first 6 weeks here. The Giants game. I think it's a little bit of a trap game. The Chiefs have the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Lions on the schedule. And the Giants, great defensive line that will test the Chiefs' offensive line early. And they have, they've got a really good left tackle. They've got a hell of a playmaker in Malik Neighbors. I think they might be friskier than people expect. And sometimes we see the Chiefs kind of play down to the level of their competition. We saw it last year with the Panthers. The Panthers almost got them. There is a game like this every single season. I'm going to nominate this one. Do you see something else on the schedule, Sterling?
Yeah, I don't see that. I think the Giants are the worst team in football. I think they're worse than the Saints. They have some guys they have like individual pieces that are really, really intriguing,
at the right positions too.
At the right positions. I just think that they are so thin outside of that. It drops off real quick. I think the Saints still have not quite as high end of talent, but I think they have some better baseline talent than the Giants do, if that makes sense. And the Giants' schedule this year is ridiculously hard. The Giants' schedule is absurd. So doesn't matter. They might be a better team than the Saints, but I think that they're going to have a worse record than the Saints because you look at the schedule and it's a vast difference. I think for the Chiefs, there's 3 games I was looking at. I was looking at Titans on the road because the Chiefs, for some reason, I know it's no longer Mike Vrabel. I'm like, okay, that might be tough. I think they win that game, but I was like, that might be a closer game than we would like to see.
They don't like Nashville for some reason.
I was thinking either, or they like it too much. I was thinking either Chargers at home or Broncos at home because they go to Denver, but that's after a bye. And I like Andy Reid off a bye. I think they'll be good to go in Denver. So I think that Thursday night Christmas game might be the surprising one. I'll say Thursday night Christmas game at home, hosting the Broncos. That to me would probably be my surprise loss.
You had a third one.
That was the Chargers one. I think the Chiefs probably win that one. I guess they would have the Chiefs sweeping the Chargers then at that point because there's no game in LA, although it's also part of Arrowhead West. But I'll have them sweep the Chargers. I think I had the Chiefs going 12-5 or 13-4. I got to remember what I did.
Yeah. I think they're still going to lose in Denver. It just seems like a place that is impossible to play. I know Andy Reid off the bye, but we were saying that before Super Bowl 59 and Super Bowl 55, and sometimes it doesn't matter. Preparation can only go so far. Best friends, class clowns. This is just a goofy one I threw in because I want to have the conversation. Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, inseparable. We think of them as a duo. a lot of enjoyment out of those two together, but they have a new challenger. I mean, Chris Jones and George Karlaftis seem pretty inseparable themselves. Which duo are you taking?
Patrick and Travis.
You just
That's
you know,
the one. I mean,
you threw me a well, that is the most famous one. That's the most iconic one, but
they're always hanging out, dude. Like,
but class clowns?
I mean, yeah, Kelce's pretty much yeah, dog. You can give him a nose and some. So he's got big feet, but give him even larger shoes. Come on, man.
Okay.
Funny guy.
We have some good duos. That is for sure. I enjoyed during that last preseason game seeing George Karlaftis and Chris Jones getting interviewed together. I find their friendship extremely wholesome. They're kind of like the odd couple, right?
When I've talked with both Creed and Kelce in more laid back places, I think Kelce's more of the clown. Creed can be that, I think, when he's around Trey Smith and like his guys, which is totally normal. Totally normal. This is not a thing. But Kelce is cool to be goofy around anyone. Like, he was fun. Very fun.
And Chris has the gift of gab. I think he's got a media future himself, but George Karlaftis is pretty chill, right?
Yeah.
Team MVP.
I hate doing it. Patrick. I'm all in. I told you I'm all in on the Chiefs offense this year. I told you I think the record of the Chiefs does not look as good as this team looks. I think we're going to find, there are going to be some struggles early on. They're going to lose some games, maybe lose a game or two late. They're going to be probably 12-5, 13-4, but way better than last year. And again, I am all in on Patrick in this offense looking outstanding. I don't think there's a clear-cut wide receiver one because Rashee Rice will be gone 6 weeks, so I don't think the numbers will be enough for one guy to choose. Defensively, Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Bolton McDuff. I mean, like, defense to me is just a plethora of really good players. I'm going Patrick, and I know it's the cop-out answer, but I firmly believe in a huge year from 15.
It's hard to pick somebody else. Rashee Rice is only going to play 11 games. Trent McDuffie, this isn't a system that produces turnovers. He's not really that kind of player. That doesn't diminish his value, but he's just not one of these Marcus Peters-y gambling type corners who's going to rack up a bunch of interceptions. And Chris Jones, we know his role. He's not going to get 20 sacks. This reminds me of 2022. The narrative, I think, around the Chiefs, people have lowered their expectations just a little bit. And I think that is when this team is at its best. I think they were embarrassed in front of well over 100 million people last year. They've had a bad taste in their mouth the entire summer. I don't know how much that means to every single person on the roster, but I know what it means to 15. And I just think he's going to be, again, a man on a mission. And it's tough going from the guy he was at Texas Tech to being the face of the league as fast as he became the face of the league. The supporting pieces around him have been kind of transient, a revolving door. I don't know that any other franchise would put their franchise quarterback in a position where his tackles and receivers were changing every year, like a rotating cast, like it's Hamilton on Broadway or something. But they know he can survive that. They know he can still thrive in that situation. But I just think he has a better situation around him, a little bit more continuity. Plus, he's been I'm not a dad, so I don't know, but I've observed it with my brother and other people. He has 3 little kids, man, and I think that's probably been a big adjustment for him. I just think everything aligns. He cut the hair, which I think is going to be like a reverse Samson, a reverse Samson effect. So I'm with you. I don't think he's only going to win team MVP. I think he's going to win NFL MVP. That's my prediction.
Love it.
Greatest overall moment for the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs.
Hoisting the Lombardi over the Eagles for the second time in 4 years.
I am
right. Second time in 4 years. That math?
The math is mathing.
Okay.
that's what I want. That's what I need. Give us the rubber match. Give us revenge. Let's exact that revenge. Let's vanquish this threat once and for all. Close the door on the Eagles. I just don't think they have the staying power of the Chiefs. I really respect that franchise and its ability to reinvent itself. I just don't think the shelf life of Jalen Hurts is going to be anywhere near the shelf life of Patrick Mahomes. And I think there's a good chance they could be in the Super Bowl. The Lions, with their coordinator changes, I don't know. Maybe the Packers now. I'm trying to think who else in the NFC, but I think there's
the Bucks could be a dark horse team. The Buccaneers, what they can do offensively is very, very impressive. And I think the Rams, to an extent, would be another kind of wild card team that plays up in the playoffs with Matt Stafford. So I think the NFC has more of those wild teams in the Rams, the Buccaneers, and the Packers kind of threshold than in the AFC, where it feels like it's Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens.
It's that trifecta. I don't really see any, and you didn't even mention Washington, which
I think they came back this year. But yeah,
it's possible. It's possible.
I think it's Houston this year. Yeah.
If Jaden Daniels is him, and I think he might be, I see what you're saying. I mean, the Bucks, it depends on Tristan Wirfs, and but I think it is maybe a little bit more open. But and also the Eagles lost their offensive coordinator. I mean, that's no small deal. Jalen Hurts is working with yet another offensive coordinator, but I got this feeling, man, that the Bills are really, really getting close to actually making the Super Bowl. But I just think because of this being Travis Kelce's probable last dance, that they're going to go back to the Super Bowl. I'm going to agree with you. I think they're going to beat the Eagles, and it's just going to be one of the greatest moments in franchise history because 3 Lombardis in 4 years, they really have a claim to the greatest run in the history of this league, in the history of this illustrious league. So I think we're in agreement. We're picking the Chiefs. Since you and I have been doing this show together 3 years, the Chiefs have never not made the Super Bowl. And that's a trend that's going to continue, all because of us, of course, right?
Obviously.
We are running along today, so we're going to skip what's spinning. Thanks to the chat, you guys. Always bring it. Can't wait to do another season with you guys. If you dig Arrowhead Addict, help our community grow by subscribing here on YouTube. You can also help us if you're an audio listener by leaving a 5-star review on Apple or even Spotify. And check out the mothership, arrowheadaddict.com. Matt Connor and the gang always does a great job on the OG website. Join us live next Friday. The season is upon us. We're going to be doing an hour game preview here on game day, talking Chiefs Chargers in Brazil. That will happen 3 p.m. Central next Friday. Until then, go Chiefs.